Hello, my strange little onions, you ask. So I'm delivering another installment of creepy conservative men who come into my DMs because they think I'm a woman. Once upon a DM notification. Hey babe, you up? He said. Up for what? Thai food? Adventure? Dubious gas station Thai food, which consuming it would be an adventure in itself, I asked. Huh? What you talking about? He asked. I see we're both confused and I'm not understanding why. You asked if I was up and I asked for clarification as to what you meant. I said, yeah, babe, you up? He asked again. Up for a walk on the beach? Up for committing tax fraud? It's a very open-ended question, I said. Are you refrigerated or something? He asked, but he did not say refrigerated. I, for one, do not like having my intelligence insulted after I've been the one who has put forth all effort in our electronic communications thus far. Babe, if you don't want to be called refrigerated, don't act like you're refrigerated. But again, he did not say refrigerated. I was only asking if you were awake, he said. Obviously I'm awake. I've been conversing with you quite charmingly, I might add, for quite some time now, I said. That's when he sent me a picture. Whatever could it be? It was his ding-a-ling. For reference. Well, that wasn't very impressive. Maybe you should try retaking that photo when you're up, babe, I said. You bitch, he said. His 2 IQ points began hopping up and down on the keyboard of his phone. I knew I was going to have quite a bit of time as those little buggers were working overtime trying to craft a coherent comeback. So I went to go look at his page. You'll never guess what I found. Boobs and guns and Trump supporter, boobs and guns and transphobic posts. And in his followers list, I found something. I decided to send him a picture because that was clearly what he was after all along. I started with a photo of a woman in a bikini. Her head was carefully cropped off. Ah, hot babe. Maybe you could show me a little more skin, he said. All right, I said, so I sent him the photo without it being so cropped on the décolletage. Why the funyuns did you send me a picture of my mother in a swimsuit? He said in all exclamation points. Disclaimer, this next part of the story didn't happen because it's illegal and I spoke to a lawyer. And I would never do anything illegal. The same reason I sent her the photo you sent me. I'm just a mentally unstable drag queen, I said right before I blocked him. Thank you for watching. Have a hug, a cookie, and a juice box.
I'm so behind on my vocal training. So here we go. I want to get the surgery, but you can't talk for 2 weeks. And I have a 3-year-old and my co-parent's like, I can't do this solo for 2 weeks. So I have to find the job first so I can afford a nanny. Anyways, so hello, everybody. Welcome back to Transcending Humanity. This is episode 25. I apologize for the break last week. I needed a little bit of mental health time. And honestly, I forgot to tell people when I was recording. So no one was, Zach showed up. But I'm just like, I don't have it in me to do this. So whatever. Today we have a special guest. We have the amazing Landon Reid, aka June Rogers. You can find him pretty much in most of the socials anymore, right? And Mayhem Ensued, which is a brilliant name. How did you come up with that name?
I came up with that name back when I wasn't expecting anything to happen from social media. If I was to do it over again, I would have just done my name, but there's no going back now.
But it's kind of now become synonymous with you, and it's kind of fucking awesome.
It has.
So it's in Mayhem Ensued. It's topical too when it comes to our current political climate. So I'll just give you a second to introduce yourself.
Hello, I am Landon Reid. I am a political drag queen. I often call myself an accidental drag queen. That was a tongue twister.
It is.
I became a drag queen just doing Halloween costumes, and then creepy conservative men started messaging me on Instagram because they thought I was a woman And years later, I started telling those stories on TikTok and it took off.
It's if you're at like what 100 something of them now.
Yeah. Yeah, I
It's
stopped numbering them because it was too hard to keep
I
track.
can imagine. Um,
And
if
now I can repost them.
yeah, true, because you have some older ones, and it's if you need to go watch his show on TikTok, and you do a lot of them on Instagram too, right?
I do.
Okay, so but I know TikTok's kind of your primary platform, even though
Mhm.
you're getting politicked on there. But um, it's hilarious just because he does it in his June Rogers persona, and June Rogers is gorgeous, like 50s housewife, really. So why is my phone ringing? Hold on.
Connect device to camera.
Oh, did it lose my video? Ah, son of a bitch. There. Thank you for letting me know my camera died. So, okay, looks like I'll be cutting that part out. So half the time I leave that shit in though, just because it's fun. But um,
Do what they do on,
anyways,
oh, and just put like a roasting caption.
yeah. So let's see, where was I? So Landon has a my brain just died. So Landon's creepy conservative thing he does in his stop ringing. He does in his June Rogers persona. And June is you modeled her after pretty much 50s housewife, correct?
I
Okay.
did.
She's absolutely gorgeous. And like it's you just have to watch it. And all these creepy conservative men send him these just really inappropriate shit. And Landon does a thing that I am all about accountability. If you follow me on LinkedIn, I'm like big on accountability. So calling these people out because it has to be called out because these people vote too. So
Yeah.
it's terrifying, but it's so much fun. Let's see. So you said you kind of got into drag accidentally, just through Halloween. Where did June come from?
Well, June Rogers is taken from Fred Rogers and June Cleaver
Mm,
because those two people were great influences on me as a child. As a matter of fact, when I started TikTok at the beginning of the pandemic, I was doing Mr. Rogers' daily affirmations and getting mass reported for them every single time, like, which was ridiculous. So I started doing this character, June Rogers, who is, she doesn't exist in the 1950s. She actually exists in a post apocalyptic future where conservatives have made America their dog whistle version of the 1950s.
they made
Because,
America great again.
yeah, they don't want higher taxes on the wealthy, higher minimum wages, strong worker unions, universal health care. They don't want that part of the 1950s. What they want is racism, sexism, and homophobia.
Yes.
So June was a feminist reporter in the before times. Then when everything happened, they put all of the conservative women who helped them gain power in the background because no one trusted them. And they needed a woman who could help settle down all of the liberal women. So they brought on June because everyone knew her from her journalism days. And they started making her host this 50s style homemaker show. And June is called America's Most Eligible Housewife because she unalived her husband because he was having an affair. And they cannot arrest her because by acknowledging she did something to her husband would mean women have some level of power in their own destiny. So everyone just pretends he ran off to Tijuana with his secretary.
Okay, that is I see I didn't know the backstory. That is absolutely brilliant. it's such a mix of things, but the scary thing is it doesn't sound very inconceivable at all. It's like it gives
Well, it's
me,
all happened before.
yeah, exactly. It gives me very Hunger Games vibes.
Hmm.
So,
Hunger Games, Handmaid's Tale.
yes.
Yeah. I didn't directly take from The Handmaid's Tale. It just kind of happened
Hmm.
that way. In the same way Margaret Atwood took from how history works over and over and over and wrote The Handmaid's Tale, I did the
Hmm.
same and they line up. But unlike The Handmaid's Tale, I made it this very hyper feminine 1950s aesthetic
Hmm.
because that is what they would bring back,
Yes, it really is. It really is. So,
which I find it perplexing. All of the women who want to dogpile on trans women and drag queens and want to impose dress codes again, like even liberal women, like there are
yeah.
air quotes around liberal,
Hmm.
but liberal women who are saying that, and it's like, honey child, you're wearing pants.
Yeah. You
You're
shouldn't
wearing a
be.
tank top. You think
Hmm.
you're not wearing a bra. Do you honestly think this? No. Like, you're
No.
going to need to be girdling that in. You're going to need to be
Hmm.
wearing a comb bra. That's what they want.
Yeah. Yeah. It's ugh. I know Margaret Atwood also like didn't she say like hello people, you're not supposed to be taking my book literally and putting it into action.
Yes.
So yeah, I came across an Instagram profile. It was a trans woman, but like right at the top of it, she said, "Drag queens take away femininity. Drag queens are destroying womanhood." I'm like, what the fuck? No, they're not. It's, I mean, it's performance. And
Hmm.
if you go back like the Shakespearean days, men played all the women's
Hmm.
parts. So,
Well, one thing I find so perplexing about these people who feel drag queens are degrading women is I went to, evangelical Christian summer camps.
I'm
And
sorry.
every single one of the things where it's like your group memorized Bible verses, your male leader is going to put on a dress. And Milton Berle and all of these things, football players dressing up as cheerleaders. There is a lot of times men have dressed up as women to degrade women and make fun
Mhm.
of women, and you're not calling those out.
They
You're
only call
calling
out the
out the
queer
group.
people.
You're calling out the group that is uh, idolizing women, being
Mhm.
reverent towards women, calling
Exactly.
out sexism and the treatment of women
Hmm.
in a subversive way.
Hmm. It's a brilliant art. It's something I never really had a whole lot of exposure to in the past. And you're only the third drag queen I've ever met, quote unquote, in person. I met
Ooh.
two at a party, a Halloween party last year where they dressed up as Beetlejuice and Lydia, had a beard and it was fucking amazing. But um, yeah, I and there's so much vilification of drag queens now where, conservatives are like, they're molesting kids and
Mm-hmm.
the data does not back that up. Like, I can't
No.
remember her name. There's a trans lawyer on TikTok.
On Yes,
What the
who's
fuck?
really committing crime.
Yes,
I
she's
love her.
yeah, exactly. I can't remember her name offhand. But yeah, it's she goes through and it's fathers, it's religious officials,
Mm-hmm.
it's elected officials. And I think like she's tracked like 500 so far this year. And like, I
Mm-hmm.
think like two did drag. And so who's the real enemy here? It's the, the drag and trans communities are
Mm-hmm.
so intertwined in that in
Yes.
politically. So, but, and a lot of people think that trans people are drag queens. We're not, but there is a lot of overlap too. There's a
Mm-hmm.
fair number of drag queens are like, oh shit, I'm trans. So,
Mm-hmm.
but um yeah,
An interesting thing, because I do on TikTok live Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday at 8 Central, I do drag queen story time.
Hmm.
Not always drag queen story time. It's just whenever I'm in drag and have filmed, I'm in drag there.
Yeah.
Um, and I did that for almost a year before the trolls started coming in calling me a pedophile and a groomer. And do you want to know when that happened? 3 days after the Southern Baptist Church had to release all of their pedophile that they had moved around, all their pedophile pastors and clergy members that they just discreetly moved around, and the lawsuits they paid off 3 days after that bombshell dropped. And that was 3 days after the conservatives started spinning and deflecting because heaven forbid we actually look at who's really doing it.
Exactly. I've said it a million times on this show that conservatives just project. And like, but all these anti-drag bills, anti-trans bills,
Mhm.
it's like these conservatives that are, I, my stepfather is a Republican in the Ohio House of Representatives, Ohio State
Really?
House of Representatives. And I'm actually planning on running myself. So I was looking at my opponent who is signed on to all the anti-trans stuff. But it was very refreshing to see that my stepfather, I've never met him because you know what it's like having parents that suck. Um,
Hmm.
but it was very refreshing to see a Republican that all of the stuff that he's co-sponsored are just economic stuff actually trying to help people, not a single discriminatory bill that he's co-sponsored. So that was refreshing to see.
That is
So we know
refreshing.
that there are some, it's this far right contingent that they're just obsessed. Like honestly, they're
Hmm.
obsessed with kids' genitals, which just creeps me the
They
fuck
are.
out. And you know, the people that are so obsessed with that stuff, what are they really into? Because again, they're projecting. So to go along with your story time, I know that you have an issue with um, on TikTok with the trolls reporting you,
Oh
and
yeah.
you're one strike away from being booted.
Hmm. Yeah, I have okay, so as I mentioned, my Mr. Rogers daily affirmations and
Mhm,
my being those being reported, I feel like I was put in a separate category by TikTok. I think they kind of realized, oh, if this person gets reported, it's kind of going to be bogus.
mhm,
So I feel like I was moved to a separate category because so many friends cannot believe my account hasn't been banned.
mhm,
The number of violations that have come back no violation, but they still will ban an account over that.
mhm.
Um, but yeah, I have had 38 live strikes at this point. And I think you're supposed to have three before they give you a permanent
Oh,
live
damn.
suspension. So I've been very lucky, but last week they just gave me a little, if you get one more, or you're out. So
It's stupid because you're not doing anything wrong.
I know.
To the
Well,
listeners, oh, go ahead.
first of all, TikTok is an app for 13-year-olds and over. So if a
Hmm.
child under the age of 13 is watching my story time, they're watching with a parent's
Yeah.
permission, with a parent, or the parent doesn't know. And that is a parental issue, not my
Hmm.
problem.
Exactly.
The majority of people who watch my story time are adults because guess what? It's very therapeutic
It's nostalgic
to have
too.
someone read a book to you.
Hmm.
It's healing.
And uh, you're just reading children's books.
I am.
There's it. It blows my mind that people have quote unquote a problem with that.
Mm-hmm.
They're just and again they're just cruel.
Mm-hmm.
And because you're doing a service to humanity, honestly, because you don't get paid for that.
No.
And
I
uh,
think I will get like 40 cents to $2 alive in gifts, you know, which is I started a Patreon and people are like, because you're just in it for the money. And like,
mhm,
um, each of these hour-long lives takes like 2 hours worth of work you don't see.
mhm.
So it's like 3 hours, 3 times a week. I used to do 7 times a week, but that was
That's a
just too
lot.
exhausting.
Yeah.
So I had to lower that. And it's like, yeah, I started a Patreon to help justify the amount of time I was doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And the people were like, "You're getting paid by the deep state." And like, if I was getting paid by the deep state, I would have much better clothes.
Yeah. Oh, so every time you do it, you're losing money between,
Mhm.
especially when you're doing as June, the outfits that you buy because you have an entire wardrobe and
I am
makeup.
very lucky that people have just sent me stuff.
That is really cool. I've
That
seen some of
is,
your
I,
unboxing videos,
I am very
and
lucky in that.
that is super handy. I
Hmm.
I'm also jealous that of the dresses that you can wear. I used to be skinny. Like I I just did that AI 90s yearbook photo thing
Hmm.
because that's the trend. And then at the end I put a picture of my actual I graduated in 1999, my actual yearbook photo. And I'm like, I was so skinny then. I was like 6 foot and 165 pounds. Now I'm 5'11 and 247 pounds. And I'm just like, all these dresses I wish that I could get into, but I have an entire wardrobe of dresses that don't fit me until I lose weight. But so I'm jealous of that
I
when you do the back and forth walking.
I do have recommendations for you if you
Okay.
want, like brands that go up to a lot of sizes.
Hmm. It's well, plus it's hard being tall. How tall are you?
I'm 6'1".
6'1"? Okay, so you're even taller
Hmm.
than I am. So yeah, it's tall girl problems is what you run into. So um let's see, what do I have next for you? So drag often involves elaborate costumes and makeup, which yours I would say is a lot more, not so much elaborate, a lot more, what's the word for it?
Authentic 50s.
Yes, authentic 50s. Um,
Yeah.
can you tell us about the process of how you get into drag from selecting the outfit and doing your makeup? And
Hmm.
um, you usually wear wigs, correct?
I do. I wear a
Okay.
wig, or I've started doing half wigs, like a vintage fall. So it's
Hmm.
my hair in front. But my process, I designed, if you go back to my early Creepy Men videos, you will see the makeup back when I started telling those stories when I had 400 followers
Hmm.
and no one was watching. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna tell one of these stories one day. So I was
Hmm.
like, I'm gonna spend 3 minutes on my makeup with some Dollar Tree products I have. And it took me 3 minutes, did it, told the story. And now like the makeup takes 45 minutes to an hour and a
Hmm.
half just to do. But I decided that I needed to create a cohesive face look for
Hmm.
June because she's a real person,
Yeah.
not some I'm not somebody who just changes up the look and you won't recognize me from day to day, even when I have different hair.
Hmm.
So I took great inspiration from the Barbie Silkstone line that Mattel used to do,
Hmm.
which was this vintage 50s inspired line of expensive fashion dolls for collectors. And I decided, what if Mattel made a June Cleaver Barbara Billingsley Silkstone? What would that look like? So every day, that is my inspiration. And I tend to use products that have been around since the 50s
Smart.
and techniques from the 50s. So I watch a lot of 1950s makeup tutorial videos
Hmm.
and look at the little brochures to see how they did it, which is funny because a lot of people go, "You're wearing too much makeup. Women would never." And like, uh-uh,
That's how it was
uh-uh.
done.
Oddly, the most makeup I wear is when I do Lucille Ball.
Really? Yeah, I can see that
Yes.
because you really have to do the embellishments and stuff like
Mhm.
that. So, yeah, like if you go watch Landon as June, it's if you did your videos in black and white, you would seriously think that they were recorded in the 50s. So Landon has that the look absolutely nailed. It's amazing. Um, so since drag is a powerful form of self-expression, what aspects of your own personality do you put into June and other drag that you do?
Mm. The line between June and I has definitely been blurred
Mhm.
from the beginning to now. June was originally much more psychotic, for a lack of a better word, like
Mhm.
mentally unstable.
She killed her husband.
And yeah, so I did drift more into June and I are the same person.
Mhm.
Basically, like we have the same mannerisms, same inflection. Now, June does speak a little bit faster because she has to get through a lot of stuff.
Yeah, she does.
So that is the voice of June is just my voice, but faster
Mhm.
because I already speak like someone from the 50s.
Yeah, you definitely have that vibe. So it works so well. I love
Well,
it.
when I was 3, I saw a Katharine Hepburn movie on TV and I fell in love with that transatlantic accent.
Hmm.
And I started talking with the transatlantic accent, and it took about 4 days before my parents put the kibosh on that. So
Oh,
I went back to talking normally. Then I would subtly bring
work it back
inflections
in.
into words to get the accent we have.
Hmm.
Linguists have watched my videos and like gone, "Where are you from? What is this accent?" And I'm like, "I made it up when I was 3."
It's so cool. I love that. I hate when parents stifle kids. Like as a mother myself, I I grew up in a very abusive, horrible Christian conservative home, which
Hmm.
I get the vibe that you kind of had that same kind of thing. And parents, don't stifle your kids, don't stifle their curiosity.
Hmm.
It benefits nobody. It just
Hmm.
it hurts them and it hurts you in the end too. So uh, I imagine if you were able to express that more when you're growing up,
Hmm.
it would have been fun. Um,
Yeah. My mother and I do have a very good relationship.
good, good.
It is one of those of I would be fascinated to see who I would be as a person if I had who my mother is now, because we've both grown, we both let
Hmm.
go of a lot of baggage.
Yeah.
If the woman she is now had been raising child me and my father, who we call Voldemort, wasn't in the picture, who would I have been? Because I would probably be completely different and exactly the same, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Your mom, I imagine, is Gen X, right? Probably not.
Yes.
Okay, because my parents are boomers, but so Gen X and I'm an elder millennial, exennial. So we were raised by boomers. So I imagine your mom was probably around a lot of boomers and
Hmm.
even the silent generations. So it's the atmosphere that they were raised in can just be so toxic and
Hmm.
they just push it on. It's so hard to break generational trauma. So,
Hmm.
but I'm glad to hear that your mom has started to push away from that. So
Hmm.
it's because it's rare and there's someone like you that's creative and beautiful and powerful. And so I'm so glad to see that you're able to have that in your life and project it and bring it to the world. So, um, let's see, what's the next one I have for you? Um, so, drag queens often face a lot of challenges and criticism, both online and real life. How do you handle the negative comments and vitriol? And what advice would you give to other queer people that face similar challenges?
Well, um, I have not been, I don't really do drag in the real world.
Hmm.
I've been in drag 3 times in the real world, and I have a funny story about that. I was invited to Alabama Pride, and I was staying in a very sketchy hotel, and I had to get in drag and go out into the lobby. And as I was walking out, this man who might as well have been wearing a MAGA Donald Trump hat and t-shirt and everything walked up to me and was like scowling, like he was scowling at me for like 4 minutes as I was waiting for an Uber. And he like walked up to me and went, "Are you a trans?" And I looked at him and went, "No, I'm a tall." And he like profusely apologized and walked away.
Oh, that's amazing. That's
I
amazing.
I will say, I do think when I go out in public in drag, people do think I am just tall
Mhm.
and not a drag queen and not trans, probably because of the heavy 50s influence. I
Yeah.
just look like I'm doing pinup costume and I'm a tall woman.
Hmm.
So that is the thing that's just off enough.
Yeah.
And I promise I will get back to the question at
Yeah.
hand.
No, you're fine.
But another thing is people who watch my videos, and I've had a lot of people who follow me who didn't know I was drag queen and didn't even think I was trans. It all depends on what video they
Mm,
followed from. So
true.
if you follow from a video where I start off with because they think I'm a woman, like right off the bat, you will never unsee it.
Hmm.
But I've had many people message me going how like I just saw the first creepy man video of yours today. I thought you were a woman for months. I've loved your content because I just liked your pretty clothes videos or
Hmm.
your videos where you talk about 1950s history. So generally when it comes to criticism, I do find it's not actually criticism of me. Like one of the most common things people criticize me for is they will call me fat. It's like, where are we getting fat?
Have they seen you?
No, right?
This
Um,
is fat. Okay.
and a lot of times people will like go, "Oh, why would I listen to someone with such obviously fake teeth?" And like, my teeth are
Fake
real. Like,
teeth.
I know,
What?
like they're my real teeth.
They're
It's
just, you take
it
care of
is
them.
yeah, they just criticize anything, and half of the time it's just so laughable, and if they ever hit on something that would have offended me, it's like, "Oh, you just got lucky.
Hmm.
You just got lucky." I do find the people that you will actually care about and want to have a conversation with and want to get to know will want to get to know you by what you are presenting to the world.
Hmm.
And if somebody doesn't want to get to know you because of what you're doing, why do you care?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, my advice to people just to deal with trolls is don't engage. And because it takes away their power. So,
Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of what you're doing. It's just, oh,
I
it's
do love engaging a troll.
sometimes it is fun.
I do. But I will say, I've told so many people, don't engage with trolls because I'm able to do it in a way where they will never rattle me.
Hmm.
I will always remain calm. I will always stay focused. And I can gaslight, gatekeep, girl boss the situation until they are a raving lunatic.
Hmm.
And if you tried to engage with them in the way I do, people would probably just see two crazy people yelling at each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
I always say kill with kindness because if nothing else, it makes you more sympathetic to the jury.
Hmm. True. True. You have this amazing ability to be very calm, and that's one thing I've noticed about June is it's probably part of persona because she has that psychopathic thing behind her, but just how calm and composed you are all the time. I'm kind of jealous
Mm-hmm.
of that. So I don't know if I've just become I don't know. Oh, I have a off the bar thing. Where did you come up with the strange little onions?
When I was around 4 years old, I just started calling myself a strange little onion,
Hmm.
which really goes to show what a strange little onion I am.
Hmm.
It's it is just gibberish.
It's so fun.
Pure and
It's so
simple,
cute.
it's just gibberish. And I
It's
think it's very timely now because it's not gender specific. And it is just a thing of if you feel, if something inside you makes you feel warm, when I say strange little onion, you are one.
I love it. Landon opens almost all of your episodes with it.
I
With
do.
just hello, my strange little onions. And oh yeah, I just love that.
Thank
Let's
you.
see.
It's also the name, it's also my artist name. So I have
Oh
strange
really?
little onion art.
Oh, see, it just fits. And you're right, it's so neutral. And for some reason it gives me Final Fantasy vibes. I think it's just because I think in Final Fantasy there's like an onion knight or something. I don't know, but that's just my brain doing. It's like we're having conversation here. My brain's like, okay, I'm here, but I'm also way over fuck over there. So um are there do you have any inspiration from other drag artists at all? Or is it mainly just from the 50s stuff?
Mainly 50s.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of drag queens that I like. Ben de la Creme and Jinx Monsoon, top two.
Mm-hmm.
They're the ones where I go, I feel if we met in person, we would just be fast friends.
Yeah.
But I do watch drag queens, like drag queens who do very glam makeup and
Mm-hmm.
go, all right, how do you do that?
Mm-hmm.
How do you do that? Because I've tried to do something similar, but the techniques aren't quite right for the implementation.
It's the first one that comes to my mind is Trixie Mattel, and
Mm-hmm.
her just because every single time it's completely spot on. Like even though she uses different products and everything all the
Yeah.
time, and like she has her home kit, her travel kit, and it's kind of mind blowing to see the transformation in the detail that goes into
Mm-hmm.
it. So with my very limited makeup skills, I'm just like I can do my eyes and I can't do any contouring or whatever. I haven't figured any of that stuff out. There's so much art that goes into it. And if you go and watch Landon's videos, like as I said before, like he looks like a woman out of the 50s. It's just you just nail it. So it's wild. Um, what's the most heartwarming thing that you've come across as June?
Oh, I don't know if it's heartwarming or tragic because it flip-flops.
Hmm.
Is how much the Creepy Man series resonates with women. And that is like one of those of where whenever I read the comments are like, oh my gosh, I wish I had had that come back, when I was young, and say, oh, that made me happy. Oh, that makes me so sad that this is a universal experience.
It is, and it shouldn't be.
It should not be. One of the things I always point out to people is number one, people go, oh, you catfished these men.
I
These
didn't.
men catfished themselves. The
Yeah, they can be
information
a.
was right there.
Hmm.
I probably had hashtag drag queen on the video or photo they saw on Instagram. They didn't do any research because straight, white, cisgender men have no natural predators, so they don't research things.
Hmm.
Um, so these men catfish themselves. I answer them 99% of the time as if I think they're talking to me, not a woman. Like
Hmm.
I know they're talking to a woman, but I answer them as if they're talking to me.
Which is diabolical.
Another thing that I find just fascinatingly bizarre is how men who want to discredit me will call me a liar. No woman ever has.
Hmm.
No woman
Interesting.
has ever said I was a liar. Women have said I've tried to entrap these men, which also the whole argument of what was she wearing, like total
Hmm.
crap. Let's throw that away because I'm dressed like a 50s housewife,
Very
not
conservative.
not a pinup girl 50s.
Hmm.
I'm dressed like a mother of 3 going to the bake sale.
Mm-hmm.
And these men will do that to her.
Mm-hmm. It has nothing to do with
It's
clothing.
nothing to do with what you're wearing.
No. Like, and it's not catfishing them because they came to you.
Exactly.
And all of Landon's profiles, it says Landon Reid at the top. And a lot of times it has a picture just as of you as Landon. So the these guys just don't research anything, which is
They see
very
one
evident.
photo or one
Yeah,
video and immediately hit message.
exactly. It's like, oh, come the fuck
You know
on.
what? You know what this woman's gonna want to see? My penis.
I've gotten a few already. I'm like micro influencer status right now, so I don't have a ton, but I get a few of those Instagram messages where Instagram blurs it out for me, so I don't have to see it. But it's like, oh, I now, especially now that I'm post-op, I can just say, even now that I'm post-op, I'm still bigger than you. For those that don't know, post-op trans women, a lot of the times they take your penis and they shove it on in ya. So my vaginal canal is what used to be my penis, and I still say it's bigger. So whatever. Um, awkward moments with Vanessa. Um, so so your drag experience is definitely different, I would say, from the typical one.
Oh yeah. I'm I'm totally accidental,
Mhm,
which has also given me a great amount of ability to think through every move I make. So everything I've done has been a reaction to what they say about me.
mhm,
So it's like, oh, drag queens are slutty. I'm going to be a classy, frigid woman.
mhm,
Um, Drag queens wear too much makeup. I'm going to wear the amount of makeup a woman would wear on her wedding day.
mhm,
Um, Drag queens are overtly sexual. I'm never going to mention anything sexual.
mhm. There is
I
nothing sexual about June at all,
no,
period.
no, I think June is asexual.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Like, it's just that I did everything as a reaction to what they said about me.
Mhm,
And the thing is, conservatives gave me a platform because they didn't give me what I wanted, which was to just be left alone. And they continue to interact with me and they continue to give me a platform because they wouldn't leave me alone. Even when I had 200 followers on Instagram and was a 17-year-old posting a photo of me dressed as the paper bag princess or something for Halloween.
mhm. What they don't understand is it's very clear conservatives don't understand how algorithms work.
Mm-mm.
And it's all about engagement. So like
Yes.
all those people that like will comment on something, I don't want to see this on my feed. Well, guess what, asshole? It's gonna be on your feed.
It is.
So
It is on my lives, on my makeup lives, because a lot of times I do my makeup on live because
mhm,
it's just nice to have someone to chat with for the
I can
hour.
imagine. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Um, I get the people that go, all I see on my feed is these femboys. And like, then don't interact and scroll on by. I've got to be honest. I don't get men doing makeup on my feed on TikTok
Mhm,
because I engage with political activism videos and
yeah.
women who make soap.
Mhm,
Like that those are the videos the algorithm shows me because I engage and interact and watch them and like them and share them and
mhm,
save them. If you're only seeing men doing makeup, which me as a man doing makeup is not seeing,
mhm.
maybe it's because you're not scrolling on by.
Yeah.
I also don't see men in pickup trucks. Have no
The,
interest in men in pickup trucks.
the only
If
one
a
I
man in a
have,
pickup truck came across my feed, I wouldn't say anything. I just scroll away.
there is one man in a pickup truck that everybody needs to follow. I'm gonna say this right now. He goes by Ginger Billy on TikTok, and he's fucking amazing. He's he he has it. It's kind of a persona thing where he's just burly, like bearded redhead, like
Mm-hmm.
big red beard, and he never wears a shirt, and he's always sunburned to shit, and he has tons of tattoos. And you initially think that he's a conservative, like mega fucking Trump pumper, but he's not at all. And he lampoons these people so much, like, look at my truck, and but it's all just like this white trash stuff. He's absolutely hilarious. He's gorgeous. He is the one man in the truck that people need to watch, but it's not going to mess up your
Okay.
algorithm either. So because it doesn't mess up mine, so people have to check him out because Ginger Billy. I generally don't like men, but he's cute. So, but so what? I'm not sure if I had other questions or not. Oh, here's a good one. As Gen Zer, I mentioned you're Gen Z, correct?
I am.
You're in my opinion, Gen Z, we're going to get into the political side of this now. Gen Z has the gumption, the passion, the drive to actually change shit in this country. Because more than any other generation lately, more than mine, like school shootings and stuff started when
Mm-hmm.
I was in high school. Columbine was my junior year in high school. But now you just have all this shit working against you. And like, there's the push to change the voting age from 18 to
Mm-hmm.
25 because the Republicans are terrified of you because they know that once you have enough numbers that are old enough to run and enact change, it's going to happen and they're going to be gone. So, what changes and progress would you like to see start happening in the next 5 years? In my opinion, I think the next 5 years are going to be absolute a shit show. But after
Mm-hmm.
that, you're going to have enough boomers dying off, like the Mitch McConnells and stuff, like getting dying out of office because that's the only way that they're going to leave. Um, what would you like to see in the next 5, 10 years? What do you see happening?
Well, first thing I would like to see is for us as a country and the world to stop backpedaling into fascism and theocracy.
Yes.
Like that is the first thing that needs to happen is we really can't move forward until that is addressed.
Mm-hmm.
And as a country, we've never really addressed it.
Mm-hmm. No, we have not.
Whenever it's come to a time and they realize it's no longer publicly acceptable to be racist, they just are quiet for a decade. And then 10 years later, because everything looked pretty, we're shocked that it's going backwards again. Because I always say to be a conservative, you have to be stupid or evil.
It's true.
You're either being misled by evil people
Mm-hmm.
or you are evil,
Or a mix of both.
or a mix of both, or a mix of both.
Yeah.
Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yeah. Bobert.
Mm-hmm.
Those two. That is so
I
extremely
honestly
true.
have more respect for Lauren Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene than I do for Ted Cruz and Lindsey Graham. And here's why. Those two are idiots. These two are smart. These two are calculated. These two know what they're saying is lies
Mm-hmm.
and know what they're saying is gibberish. You don't graduate from Harvard and think that trickle down economics is ever going to work. You don't do that. Like the Lauren Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene believe every word they're saying is true.
Mm-hmm.
Ted Cruz, Lindsey Graham like people don't believe a word they say.
No.
They're just saying it to mislead people like Lauren Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Mm-hmm.
So in that way, I feel Lauren Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene are far more dangerous, but far less evil.
Yeah, they're brainwashed. There's
They're
so much
brainwashed.
brainwashing going on
They're
there. So
brainwashed. They're evil. They are evil, but They do think what they're doing is right.
They're puppets.
They are.
So, and it's sad. And on one hand, I do feel bad for people like them. On the other hand, I mean, they're causing so much destruction that it's hard to feel bad, but it is sad to see that, especially women. Like there's a meme I saw that it's a picture of a woman sitting like this with her just punching herself in the face, and the caption just says "Women that vote conservative," and it's true. It's
Mm-hmm.
I wish that we weren't so bipartisan in this country
Mm-hmm.
because politics should be a spectrum. It's healthy to have a spectrum.
Yeah.
And like what they call the far left in this country is very centrist in the rest of the world.
Yes.
So we are a very far right country.
Yes.
Like what leftists want isn't anything really that
No.
we just want equality and healthcare that doesn't bankrupt us.
Mm-hmm.
So, and
One of the things I find perplexing is how conservatives have managed to gain the evangelical Christian voter base. When, if you actually looked at the teachings of Jesus, this is fascinating. The most hated politicians by conservative evangelical Christians are AOC and Bernie Sanders. They're like 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
And by sheer happenstance, they did not set out to do it. They did not. Their policies align with the teachings of Jesus more than any other politician, and they're the most hated. So what I want to ask evangelical Christian conservatives, who are you actually worshiping? If you think you're worshiping Jesus, you can't vote for the people who are the opposite of what he said to do.
Mm-hmm.
I always say, I like Jesus, I hate his book club.
Yeah, exactly. Gandhi is the same way. He's like, I like your Christ, but I don't like your Christians because they're so very unchrist-like. So we've talked about religion a fair amount on this show. And Taryn, one of my co-hosts, she's part indigenous, and she loves watching Reservoir Dogs on Hulu. And she likes to talk about this one scene where they said, "Thank you, white Jesus," and that's exactly who they're worshiping. They're worshiping white Jesus, which is a complete fabrication.
Yes, they are not worshiping the Middle Eastern socialist Jew from the Bible.
No, like,
and a refugee.
Yeah, I mean, if Jesus existed, I think he would be a pretty fun guy to hang out with.
Yes. Well, on my lives, whenever I have trolls who just start spewing things, I always like to point out, so there are 6 verses in the Bible that could be used against gay people, all of which were mistranslated, 3 of which are in the Old Testament, which you claim you don't have to follow because of your covenant with Jesus, whenever it's brought up that you eat pork and wear mixed fibers. So you don't get to quote Leviticus at me, which means you have 3 verses. Again, none of them said by Jesus, all 3 verses mistranslated. They were also referencing the original 3. Like the New Testament ones were referencing the Old Testament ones. So why should they be followed anyway? But there are over 3,000 verses in the Bible about not building border walls, letting in immigrants and refugees. So you are cherry picking 3 verses to uphold bigotry and hatred against a group that you don't understand, that does not affect you. And you're going to ignore 3,000 verses about border walls, immigrants, and refugees.
Of course.
The only time Jesus ever said anything that could be remotely used against gay people, anything that could be remotely referencing gay people, trans people, intersex people, was when he said they were more holy than the hypocrites in the temple, and that those who can accept them should for the kingdom of heaven. And the only time abortion is mentioned in the Bible is a tutorial.
Yeah, whenever you hear the like the Boberts and the Marjorie Taylor fuckfaces saying my deeply held religious beliefs, it's a completely fabricated religion. Like, I mean, they idolize Donald Trump as this
Mhm.
Christian leader, and you see all this artwork of
They
like,
had a gold statue of him at CPAC.
yeah, and oh, there's pictures, there's drawings of him currently in court with Jesus sitting next to him. Trump is about as far from a
Oh,
religious
absolutely.
example as possible. Yet they hate Biden so much, who is a devout Catholic,
Mhm.
and don't get me started on Catholicism, but at least Biden is like, if you want to follow someone due to their religion, Biden is your boy.
Mhm.
So personally, I'm
Well,
not a fan of Biden, but
no.
it just doesn't make sense.
Mm-mm. Yeah, it is so mind-bogglingly perplexing.
Hmm.
I mean, when you look at how Christians have been just completely misled. Also, the Southern Baptist Church supported Adolf Hitler until Pearl Harbor.
Hmm, interesting.
Yeah.
There's
Eh,
there's a website, if you can look it up. Just Google quotes from Hitler versus quotes from evangelical pastors.
oh, I've seen that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're the same fucking thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's terrifying, and that's we are diving quickly into fascism right now.
Oh,
And
yes.
the trans community, we've talked about this over and over on the show. We are deep in the stages of genocide right now,
Mm-hmm.
and it's going to keep getting worse until it suddenly gets better.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I want to run for office, because I want to show Gen Z that if a only moderately passing big tranny can run, and even run, I don't even, if I win, just run for office, so can they. I want to pave the
Mm-hmm.
way to show them, don't be afraid to do this. If I can do this in a very red area, like there are Confederate flags all around me,
Mm-hmm.
then they can do it too. So sorry, I know you're starting to say
Oh,
something.
yeah. Something that does terrify me with Gen Z is we as a generation are experiencing tremendous burnout.
Hmm.
And I
Yeah.
have said this many times on TikTok. The parallels between the 1950s housewife and Gen Z are staggering. We were both born in a time of great turmoil. So, like June Cleaver, Barbara Billingsley was born, would have been 5 years old when women got the right to vote,
Hmm.
would have lived through World War I, II, and the Great Depression, would have never had any financial stability. Most Americans didn't have indoor plumbing and electricity until 1950. Um, and there was this time where it went from great suffering, great hardship, every day is a struggle, to a pretty world of plastics and push buttons and magic that all you had to do was conform and be quiet. And quite honestly, that sounds quite nice some days
Some days.
to have stability
Hmm.
in your life. When I believe it was Forbes listed the route for Gen Zs to have financial stability, and it was like win the lottery, become a successful internet influencer, or marry money. Like when you have marrying money as our route to financial stability, and I and they are bombarding Gen Z girls with these 50s nostalgic trad wife images, which
Hmm.
most of them are cartoons and were cartoons for a reason. I like to do the 1950s housewife thing for another reason, which is to subvert the image, because Leave It to Beaver, Donna Reed Show, June Cleaver, Donna Stone, incredibly feminist characters.
Hmm.
Like they were feminist characters, and that they have been co-opted by conservatives when they would have hated these women in real life. And
Hmm.
these women would have despised these people that have co-opted their image as what the ideal wife and mother is. I think we need to reframe the 50s housewife and look at historical context and look at the fact that they went from wearing flour sack dresses and having to ration everything to being able to make these dresses that could use an excessive amount of fabric. That's why the Dior new look, nipped in waist, long, full circle skirts were so big in the 50s, was fabric didn't need to be rationed. We can do things excessively for the first time in their entire life.
Transformative.
Yes. So it is you just need to look at the 50s housewife and look at Gen Z and go, they were just experiencing burnout. The 50s women were serving the country during the war. They were exhausted. They were starving. So many women in the 50s, a lot of people go, it was the smoking, it was the amphetamines that caused all of the miscarriages. Most doctors go, like, doctors weren't prescribing amphetamines for women when they were pregnant. And I believe it was like 40% of women actually smoked in the 50s versus 90% of men. But these women were having miscarriages because their bodies were starved when they were children.
Yeah.
Their bodies weren't equipped to bring life into this world because they were literally malnourished, which is also why they were so tiny. So it is that Gen Z, we were born I was born a year before 9/11, but I don't remember it. We were born into war. We were born into financial instability. We haven't known an economy. We as a group have never bought into the American dream.
It's impossible.
In a way, millennials, my brother is 6 years older than me. Millennials, a lot of Gen Z called millennials boomers without money. Because kind of in a lot of ways, I think that's why boomers and millennials don't get along at all. And why Gen X and Gen Z do get along is because we're two generations that were ignored. You were two generations that everything was thrown at and doted on.
Yeah.
Millennials were kind of the last hurrah of the American dream. And it is still so ingrained in millennials that when they talk about dismantling and changing the system, there is an aspect of, but you just want to dismantle it and change it enough for you to get ahead. Whereas Gen Z is all about changing it so everyone has a shot.
Precisely. That is a quote for the ages. You couldn't have nailed it better on the head. That's as I said, that's why I want to run it, to pave the way for Gen Z to be able to do that. Like you already see, like in Montana, where they had the Constitution they had changed to protect their ability to have a climate for the future. So it's Gen Z and then Gen Alpha coming up behind you.
Yeah,
they're fucking savages. So
Gen Alpha is terrifying.
Yeah.
Millennials, one of the things, because I've seen so many videos from, and I have a lot of millennial friends. I have no problem with millennials. And a lot of Gen Z does have problems with millennials.
And rightfully so.
Rightfully so, yes. But a lot of millennials go like, why doesn't Gen Z like us? Well, maybe it's because you leave comments of like, Gen Z is going to save us. We are a micro generation. You are a massive generation that has the power, that has the votes to change things, but you don't vote.
Yeah.
And exactly. when like states didn't win, like where they were predicted to turn blue in the last election, in the midterms, and like millennials were over there like, it's because Gen Z didn't come out and vote. And like, Gen Z is voting in numbers that we have never seen generations vote before. Gen Z is voting in higher voter turnout percentage-wise than millennials ever have. And most of us are still under voting age.
Yeah.
So it's that thing of, how dare you just sit back and wait for children to fix your mess? Step up and do something.
Like I've definitely said, I've said that Gen Z will save us words before, But the context I say, and they will, but we have to give them the ability to do it.
Yes.
So, and right now we are not. And millennials are very guilty of not showing up to the polls. I'm one of them. I didn't start voting until my late 30s. So, and really around when I came out, because then I finally was passionate for things. I was just living the quote unquote cishet white guy, just, I didn't care. So now I care deeply. And it's hard to get my generation to care. So I I honestly identify more with my Gen X side because I am right on the cusp, but I'm guilty of a lot of that stuff. And yeah, so yeah, folks, Gen Z can save us if we help them do it.
Yes.
And then Gen Alpha, they're just going to fucking destroy everything in a good way, I think. But
well, okay, so an interesting thing is there is a cyclical cycle to humanity. And it's I don't remember if it is, I'm going to totally butcher it. It's like a 5 or 6 generation cycle. Gen Alpha, they're basically the silent generation. I'm sorry. Gen Alpha would be the silent generation where it's like you helped out and you inherited the rewards. And then you gave all those rewards and doted them onto your children. And those children dismantle everything Gen Z and Gen Alpha worked for to give you. And then there's a little generation that gets about half as much as Gen Alpha's children will get. And they like just sit back apathetically. And then the next generation is told they will inherit that same amount, and then they don't. And then the next generation comes, dismantles everything, the whole system starts over again. Which is why I've been saying Gen Z is the 50s housewife.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. Because just like the 50s housewife, your entire, like, you go to social studies history class in school and you learn about history. Your generation, the entire fucking thing has been nonstop history building things, history making things. It's nuts. So like first half of my life, very quiet. Now I'm just like, whenever something major happens, I'm like, oh, it's a Tuesday, so but that's all that you've known is just turmoil and unrest, and it's crazy to have to grow up in that. So whew, Landon, that got deep. We are running out of time here, so I have one last question for you. It's kind of back to the drag thing. Have you ever considered going on tour as June?
I would love to go on tour as June. I would love to. I'm not sure how I would do that though, because I'm not somebody who would just be a lip sync person.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of not who I am. But the creepy men stories and the things that have made me, I'm not sure how to implement them in a live setting.
I would say it would be telling the stories very similar to how you do now, but it would be I can see how you'd say it would be hard to implement it in a live setting just because how many can you do before the audience gets burnt out on it?
Yes.
So
I could see doing a tight 15-minute set, or I could even see telling the stories more uncensored.
Yeah.
Because they are incredibly censored and redacted to get down to 3 minutes. A lot of the times it is staggering how little conversation I've had with these men before they send me a nude, or as we say on TikTok, a ding-a-ling. And then other times it is, wow, yeah, no, this conversation has been going on for days. So that is, they're redacted and boiled down to their essence for TikTok. Everything happened, but I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Couple of the stories, one story, separated into two because there is so much.
I can imagine. I mean, it'd be something that you might be able to even start as like just kind of dip your toe in as like a stand-up kind of thing. But yeah, it's hard, but I can see it being a thing because it's unique, especially in the way that you present it and the content, and it's topical and it really resonate with women. So, but I'm hoping something comes from that. Maybe if I do succeed in running for office, I might tap you for some to help get the women's vote or something.
I'll be at your coronation or
yeah,
whatever.
Well, thank you so much for joining me. This was amazing. I was so excited to have you.
Anytime.
All right.
Have me back, please.
I mean, I would love to have you back. Well, that's one thing everybody on the show for the most part are millennials and Gen X. And we really need younger voices. So whenever you are interested in coming on the show, I would love to have you as a co-host because this has been your wisdom, your insight into the world is powerful and genius. And I think your voice is very important to have. So whenever you want to join us, I would love to have you back with us. So
thank you. I will hold you to that.
I will do that. I'll send you the Discord invite. I'm not sure if I've sent it to you before, but I'll send you an invite to our Discord. So, but again, thank you everyone for joining us. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, follow Landon and Mayhem Ensued. Look up June Rogers. I'll provide links to stuff in the description, but absolutely brilliant content. I think you'll love it. Thank you again. We will see you in the next episode, which as usual, I have no idea what it's going to be. So have a great one.
Have a hug, a cookie, and a juice box. Mwah.
Oh yeah. Best way to sign off. Thank you.